Thanks so much for the invitation. It's nice to be here. It's a very nice city. Walked around yesterday. I like it. So yeah, first let me give you this table of contents for these two talks. So first I will mention background. So basically this about references and about history. And then I will mention the geometric definition of this equivariant cohomology. This one, so oriented cohomologies here, I'm talking about the one in the sense of Levin and Morel. And then I will try this number 2. Or you also call it BGT operator, or divided difference operators. So that's the one for cohomology or Chow group. And I will talk about the construction of the Chow group of flag variety, full flag. And then I will mention this formal group algebra. That's defined by Petrov and Lunin and Kavitz. And after that, I will mention this formal affine algebra. And also it's pure. Then we'll mention this partial flag of variety case. And in the last part, if we have time, I will mention this bodies cohomology. So that's some cohomology that generalizing Chow group and K theory and a bit more general and behaves nicely in the sense that we can use it to study the causality thesis. Okay. So first, background. So of course, a lot of people study Chow group or Brotherly group, but for flag variety, the method that we are going to talk about studied by the 1970s, and also Princeton, almost the same time. This is some independent work by these two group of people, and they studied this Chow group of flag variety, which is the sense. Singular cohomology of flag variety. Here we're talking about complex coefficients. And after that, so basically they define this number 2 and BGT operator.
B.
Yeah, B is the primary also. So Sigma B is the flag variety, complete flag variety. And after that, A6, that's Costa. I studied this cohomology of flag variety, actually equivalent, torus equivalent cohomology. And this gym actually can be Kazmuti flag variety, Kazmuti group. In other words, this is Kazmuti flag variety, so more general. And almost the same time, there's Arabia. The same object, except the method is more geometric, more similar, almost the same time. And then in the 1990s, so again, Costa and Kuma, they consider this K theory, equivalent K theory of flag variety. So they studied this, this group of people studied this torus equivalent cohomology or K-theory. And almost the same time express the elements. They consider this coordinate of Albany, ordinary coordinate, complex coordinate, not equivariant version. And then the paper is published in 2010, appeared earlier. There is copies. They consider this arranged cohomology of Albany, ordinary version. They started to use this method from the Muzhu, DGG up to Cosmo-Puma and the rest of the elements. They use this operator method. And then in 2000, and that's recent, the right for the years. So then it's from base and savage and then cavities. Okay, so and next is this data. Okay, I will put two pieces. One is for Changlong, the other one is myself. So we have done some work about general case of this, the general arranged cohomology, and not just for G mod B, but also for G mod P. Of course, the previous works also talks about, some properties of G mod P. Okay, so that's basically the history. And maybe I can sketch this table, which will explain you the relation between our work with previous works. So basically the idea is that I will explain some of the notations in the table later, but let me just sketch it. So if you consider cohomology, then you can consider the corresponding formal group law. And then you can consider the algebra. You can consider the associated hack algebra. Hack algebra. Of course, here formal comes from this formal group law. So if you consider arranged cohomology, for instance, if you consider Chong group or singular cohomology, then they determine the Chen class. Again, I will explain this later. The Chen class gives you the additive form. And this, the Muzhu algebra in this case will give you this R prime new. And if you consider formal R prime hack algebra, you are going to get this R prime. Generate hack algebra. Also, some people call it graded hack algebra. Okay. Now, if you consider K-theory, this will give you multiplicity form, and this formal the Muzhu algebra will give you actually this alpha and zero hack algebra. And this will give you this classical or Iwahori hack. So of course, in this talk, I'm going to just focus on this line. Actually, I will not touch that one unless we have enough time. But Yeah, I think the plan is just to cover this part. But in case you see other things, like if you see degenerate hack or evaporative hack in other contexts, actually they fit into this table. And so now, of course, if you have experienced, you know all such hacks that I'm talking about. But if not, just they are related by the following, or they are unified by the following notation. That is, so H is called a hack algebra over, you can just take Z or Z Q minus 1 if H is generated by generators, say Ti, I from 1 to n, subject to the following relations. The relations are typical for all such kind of algebras. Always two types.
So was the former dimensional algebras will be up here when the BGC and
No, actually they, of course it's defined, it's generated by the Zhu operator. So the Zhu will not call it Zhu algebra. No, actually this is not an official name. This one, this name and this one appears until this one. Okay. They define this notation. Of course, they define this notation for associated to a formal group law. And if you consider additive or multiplicative, they are just group law instead of formal group law. Formal stands for formal power series, and in the two cases, they are just numbers. So that's why normally you will not see the two names until that period. Okay. And if you specialize their notation, the formal alpha and formal division algebra, formal hack algebra to FA and FN, you will see these four algebras. Okay. Actually, this table comes from their introduction. They use this table to extend their work with previous works. Okay, so hack type algebra means you have a set of generators, usually n generators, and this n stands for the root system, the rank of the root system, okay, or the number of simple refractions. And the relations are usually following ones. First one is that Ti squared equals f of q Ti plus T of q. Well, here f, G are two polynomials inside the coefficient ring. And the second type is braided relation. That is, if you have W equal to Si, say Si, Sj, Si. Normally, if you have Si, Sj to certain power Mij equal to 1, if Mij equal to 2, 3, 4, 6. So that's the relation for Coxeter group. If you have Ij satisfying this equation, then I, Tj, Tj, you have Mij. Because this relation X, if you write it down, you are going to get this relation will give you Si, Sj, Sj, something like that. And then for the T operators, you have the same relation. That's called braided relation. So now for the four types of algebra, then they correspond to special cases of this one. For the alpha, for this neo hack, what you get is Ti squared equals to 0. That's why it's called neo hack. For the degenerate hack, you get Ti squared equals to 1. Of course, that's like a simple reflection. And for the zero hack, what you get is Ti square equals to Ti. And for the equivariant, you get Ti square equals to Q minus 1 Ti equals Q. So the last one is the most complicated one for us, but actually it's the most important one. Because last one is specialized to all the previous ones, and it's a very deep object. It's related to many things, number theory, representation theory. So it's the relations between different types of algebras. And of course, let's start from geometry. Then what's the motivation? So first, equivalent. I'm not going to give the official definition of this oriented cohomology. Instead, just say roughly speaking, it's H. First of all, oriented cohomology is a contravariant functor. So this is the category of commutative rings. So usually people take radial ring because they want to use the gradient, but we don't care about that. And this is smooth projective varieties. Okay, K is the base field. Again, you don't normally take K to be characteristic 0 because that's the assumption in the mean and Morel's book, just to avoid the resolution of singularities. With resolution of singularities, then you don't care about characteristic.
I think there is another one.
That's
So total factorization is necessary, and then the future zero substitution is also required. There are 2 points in the Morel book which require future zero they are independent. The resolution of singularity is one of them, and the other is the existence of total factorization. And that's not a consequence of resolution of singularity.
Okay. Okay, then let's say characteristic of K. Okay. So basically H is contravariant, and of course what makes it oriented cohomology is because you have this property, that is if f from x, y for instance projective, then there exists a push forward. Lower start from h of x to h of y, making such that f lower star is a map of h. Let's be careful. It's my modules. Now, what's the meaning of that? F lower star is a map of f h of y module. That's because we said f is a contravariant functor. In other words, if you have f going from x to y, you have a map going from hy to h of x. That is f upper star. h of y going to h of x. And this is because h is contravariant, so actually this map is a map of rings, which will give h of x a module structure, h of y module, and then this. So this is h of y module. This one also, you can also consider it as a h of y module, and f lower star makes it's a map of h of y module. This condition is equivalent to say that you have this projection formula. So that's the most important property of this oriented cohomology. So for us, we just accept that. So we will not talk about the definition. And now, for us, the most important property is that because of this push forward at lower star, they can define some class. Roughly speaking, some class is so h induces, the organic cohomology induces following. So roughly speaking, is following property. That is any back bundle E of x. Then you have this EI, CI of E, I plus the side EI of x, I from 0 to M, and it's the rank of E, such that C0 of E equals to 1, and the sum I from 0 to M is 1, I CI of Of course, the theta is something I defined before, but I skip that. So that is, if you have vector bundle, now you can have a section from X back to E, and this theta is the pullback, and is this push forward, so can put it down. As is this zero section, and theta is this star, as no star of the identity of So you take the projective bundle and take the zero section. Now you have one here. Let's see. If you have this, I have this as going from. S is this one. S. Now, for instance, if you look at C1, and let's say you have two line bundles, you're going to get the following thing: C1 of first line bundle, C1 of the second line bundle, and then you have a formal group plot. Okay? So now, at this point, I need to introduce the definition of formal group plot. So basically, it's a group plot, but you have to use formal because you have to use power series. So if you have i's in commutative ring, and let's say so F formal power series. Is the formal group plot. Of course, later on I will just write FGR and simplistic. If it satisfies the conditions to be a group, that is f of x, 0 equals to x, f of x, y equals to f of x, and most importantly, associativity. The three conditions. Of course, the three actually give you the definition of one-dimensional commutative form, but that's the most important one for many people. So that's why we'll just say form of group. Because this condition says it's commutative. Okay.
Could you explain what is the definition of H?
Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah, C is this, I think is lower star of 1. So you push forward and then pull back. So C gives you an element of okay. So that's the form of plot. Of course, you have a lot of examples. And yeah, one thing I should say that is it's not difficult to see that this form of plot actually always starts with this is x plus 1. We have no constant term, and degree 1 term is x plus 1, and degree, then starting from here, you will have degree 2 terms. So you can always find G, such that G belongs to, such that G is a formal Poisson series. Okay. So that's a formal group problem, and then we say R is the coefficient ring of this formal group problem. Now you have a lot of examples.
A is H.
Yeah. And of course, yeah. Okay. So now examples. Okay. The first one is if H equal to the top group or singular cohomology. So if you consider topology, it will be singular cohomology. Then this F equal to the additive form of the probability factors. Okay. So of course that's not Power series, it's just a polynomial. And if H equal to, of course in this case the coefficient ring is Z. And if you tensor Z with any other ring, you get coefficient. Any other ring can be the coefficient ring. And if H is K-theory, then F is got a multiplicative form of group. Okay. So A is short for additive, and M is short for the initial multiplicative. Now that's another one that I may mention later. So you know this formal group problem will be this one. X plus 1 minus x1 divided by 1 minus mu minus 2 power x1. Well, mu is equal to t plus t minus 1, and r is this ring. So that's a strange formal group problem. And actually, that's the one that is, I mean, FA, FM, they are polynomials. They are the only two polynomials that are formal group problems. Beyond that, you always have Poisson series, and that's the simplest one in some sense, because that's the one that we can handle. If you take things more complicated, then we cannot do anything. So that's the third one. And of course, by the theorem of Levin and Maria, if you have such a formal group problem, you have an oriented cohomology. Okay. It's going to be easy to construct. Now the last one is the algebraic polygon. So denoted by omega, and this formal group problem denoted by FU, the universal form of group. Over this ring, the coefficient ring, so that's called the Lazar ring. That's a ring with this explicit structure that is Z with countable number of variables, but infinite. Okay. So that's a polynomial ring, but just infinite number of variables. So the algebraic covariance determines this universal form of group over this coefficient ring. That's just too complicated. Now, its universal means that you can specialize it to any other form of group. Of course, when you define this Lazar ring, basically you just formally impose all the three conditions into the into restrictions on the variables. Okay, so now we have some such examples. And next, we want to talk about equivariant cohomology. So So, roughly speaking, if you have this T, so here T is a great group. And now you have this universal principle G bundle. Then you can define if X is a G space, so Gx on X, then you can define this equivariant, G equivariant homology to be H of G cross X and 1 cross G. For instance, if the G action on X is trivial, then this is basically homology of homology of BG cross homology of X. Okay. But of course, usually action is not trivial, so the case for most of the time.
I think that here one has to be careful because HE is defined on the varieties, but BG could be actually infinite dimensional one. So
Yes, that's what I was going to say actually. That is, in general, you cannot really take this one. This is the topological definition. But for algebraic geometry, you have trouble. That is, this one is EG and BG are infinite dimensional, so which means a regular homology is not defined for the right hand side. Okay. So then, of course, several people try to go over this abstraction, and for instance, let me copy the definition given by Monaco Lopez and Heller first. So that is, consider this sequence of representations. So I bring this one such that BI is representation, and UI containing BI open. Take BI the linear representations of G and UI open some varieties satisfying several conditions. That is, for instance, G X delay on UI, and you can take the quotient. So on some open subset you have this reaction, and you can take a quotient, and BI is a technical condition, and the limit of dimension B equals infinity is infinity, and the most important one is the next one, codimension of the complement is going down. So the codimension of the UI is going up. And then up with that, they define the equivariant cohomology. Actually, they considered oriented equivariant cohomology then specialized to any other oriented cohomology. That is, H of X, the inverse limit H of X to I. So here you have to take an inverse limit just because for the space you have a direct limit and actually it's point variant. So because of that, actually this spring is always a complete spring. Okay, that's like a completion. So this is the work by Monaco Lopez. And there's similar constructions by Like ratio is
I think the last n just not.
no edge?
No. The last n.
Oh, sorry. Krishna, yeah. And there's another one. But this paper never got published. You know him?
The idea was essentially that you found as a paper, but somebody used to print, and all the other two papers is to use the same idea.
Maybe that was the first one.
I think so.
Maybe he's a student total. No.
Maybe that's
I
possible.
don't know these questions.
But he wrote preprint, which uses this idea, but just sketched it, he never really bothered to publish. And then the idea was kind of picked up by the other two papers that they were published.
Okay, so you
Such a construction is from tuples.
yeah, of course. I mean, all the equivariant cohomology actually geometry comes from Tutaro's originally. But in cohomology, you have because of this grading issue, you have to be careful. But okay, didn't know the picture on this. So you have speed constructions.
I'm sorry, VIs are the subvoid beds.
No, VI are just a linear representation.
Just
Yeah, in this construction, you don't need to worry about X. You just look at this system of representations and then you look at this cohomology. So just like that construction is just to replace this construction of the universal principal bundle. Okay, so that's basically the definitions, and of course, the philosophy is that the loop system of T plus formal group prop, that means T of T. So in other words, you don't need to look at related cohomology or equivariant related cohomology. You just need to look at the form group prop. That's enough to study cohomology of sigma T. So that's why in our work with Baptiste, Camis, and Kirill Zanoni is that we just look at this piece first, and we get all the enough information and just look at the combinatorial or algebraic construction here, and then when we want to study the geometric object, we just translate to the right hand side. Okay. So first we do everything here, and then we go to geometry. Okay, so now I want to start this introduction of this machinery, but before that, let me fix some notations. So we know G is split simple linear algebraic group, and P is a progressive group. T is a torus. But yeah, I should also say that in the history, Costa and Puma's work and Arabia's work are for any cosmology flag varieties, so much more general actually. But the idea is the same. And in our case, we can partially generalize their work to cosmology case. But most of them is just for finite system, or finite linear algebraic group. So T is the torus, and delta is the group of vectors. Group of vectors of T, and sigma set of roots. And pi is different set of simple roots. So, for instance, pi will consist of n elements. Of course, here I'm assuming that n is the rank of T. And as usual, you have this bar group. It's kind of standard. SI simple reflections. Later on, I will also consider the partial flag case or parabolic case. So I will use J, subsets of simple roots, and the lower J this the subgroup of Y group generated by SI such that I will. So that's a subgroup of Y group. So J itself actually consists constructing make into a root system, subsystem. And this is also standard notation, I think. And it's all the W in W such that length of W times each loose length. Yeah, it's the length. After you fix a simple reflection, then you can talk about length of Y group elements. And the length of WU with the length of W for any U in W substitute. That's a name for this. That is the minimal length representative. So basically this set actually is bijective to W multiplication. So it gives you a canonical, give you a nice representatives, a nice set of representatives for this electrical sets. That's a standard one. But a lot of things use this set of representatives. Okay, so first let's look at Chop group. So first we need to know the structure of this homology. Homology has this group hierarchy composition. That is, you can decompose it into EWP. So here you can realize W inside G. So if you take each piece at W, it is called sugar cell. And if you take the closure, then this will be union of X B to disjoint union. B less than equal to W. So this is called the sugar variety. So if you consider the Chop group, then it's already the work of others. It's before the Borel. So that is, this actually is free abelian group generated by sugar varieties. So each one of them is called a sugar class. So now the question is how to study the sugar class. So that's why the Boutou's work appeared. So let me introduce some of those work first. And he studied this by using the so-called Boutou operator or BGG operator or divided difference operator. So the story is as follows. You first consider denoted by SA. That is the symmetric algebra. So lambda is the group of characters. In other words, there's a free abelian group of rank m. We consider the symmetric algebra. That's a polynomial ring actually. Polynomial ring with n variables. And for instance, lambda belongs to S A, and lambda here it also contains sigma, the set of roots. So for instance, any root can be viewed as a polynomial inside SA. So inside here you can define some automorphisms, endomorphisms. Because Y group acts on here. Y group acts on the lattice or the group of characters. So we can extend it to get an action on SA. Then, alpha I is sigma. Define the two. Again, some people call it BGG. Some people call it divided operators as follows. Let me call it delta I. Delta I, if you have a polynomial P, this way is given by P minus Si of P divided by alpha. Let me give you a simple example. So of course, this involves fraction, so you may think that's a rational function, but actually it's not. For instance, let's take this example, alpha I equals to say T1 minus T2. And say P is this polynomial, T1 squared T2. We're talking about type A case. In type A case, you can think of alpha as, say, alpha 1. Alpha as polynomials involving T1, T2. Then, for instance, this delta 1 of P gives you, and let's say S1 switches alpha T1 and T2. Let's say you consider this simple case. I'm not being precise here because you still have to explain why this is the S1 and why this is the alpha 1. But after you've done some calculation, in this case you can see that this is the case that is S. If alpha 1 is T1 minus T2, this simple reflection determined by alpha 1 will be the one switching at T1 T2. Now this polynomial becomes T1 squared T2 minus T2 squared T1 divided by T1 minus T2 plus the polynomial. Okay. So then it's not surprised to see that delta I belongs to most of SA. It's just Z linear, not SAE. So that's the divided difference operator. So maybe some properties of this operator, in case you've never seen it before. For instance, W delta I W inverse equal to delta W alpha. So it's conjugated by this. If you conjugate it by well group action, you still get the Mouzou type operator. By the way, I was cheating here. Here, you don't need to really consider simple roots, you can consider any root. Because any root gives you a simple reflection. And then they still work. Okay? That's what, if I don't say that, this will not have meaning because W does not really sense simple root to simple. And this Leibniz rule, that is delta alpha of product of two polynomials gives you delta alpha of P. You have this twisted Leibniz rule. That's alpha of P delta alpha of Q. So it looks like Leibniz, but one of them is twisted by one group. And another one is delta alpha squared equals to 0. Okay. You can again see it from here, from this example. Because after applying delta 1, you see you get a polynomial which is symmetric with respect to T1, T2. Now if you do it again, you have delta 0. Actually, delta alpha squared equals 0. That's not a surprise because this delta alpha will generate the so-called neo-hack algebra. That's the next definition. Before that, let me define this one. If W equal to, if you have a reduced sequence, then delta W defined by delta I1, delta IK is independent on this reduced sequence. So this is saying that you can define delta W. You don't need to just choose a reduced sequence of W and then define delta W to be the corresponding product. It doesn't depend on the choice of this reduced sequence. It will only depend on the operator. Okay? So if you find DA to be the algebra of this in the Watson ring, DA generated by SA. So SA acts on SA, of course, by left multiplication. And delta I acts on SA. You can combine everything together, you get a sub-integral. Then EA is a left SA module. It says free left SA module with basis. And this is the new alpha and U hat. So this operator is defined by Deng Zhu and BGE at the beginning, but they didn't really use this name. And so the name was first mentioned by Constant and Kuma. It's alpha and U hat. So then we're almost there actually. First one is that now that's a free SA module. So you can consider the dual. So you can consider DA as a left estimate. So first of all, this delta I do not commute with elements from SA and they themselves do not commute. So this is non-commutative. Okay? That's non-commutative. Secondary, you have a coproduct. This coproduct precisely comes from this left integral. You can easily define that. So with this makes DA into a cointegral, commutative cointegral. It's commutative. And then if you take the dual, this will make it into a commutative ring. And you can easily write down identity, this ring as an identity.
Sorry, what was the S? Is SA or?
Yeah, S is SA. So that's a commutative ring with an identity that can be written down explicitly. Now you have two things here. First, you have this map from S, SA going to C, the conventional map. That map, because that's a polynomial ring, so you can kill all the variables. This is the map epsilon. Then you can consider this, and the secondary, this TA, as I said, is a free SA module, so the dual will be again a free SA module. So you can consider this E. You can tensor, so you can tensor with C. Then theorem of Zhou and BGG is that, so if you denote this by epsilon D A definition, and this epsilon D A star is asymptotic to top group of G1P. Now why that's interesting? Remember I said it's easy to see that top group has Schubert basis. Now the question is how to represent the Schubert basis and how to do the intersection product. Now where is asymptotic, you have the Schubert basis. The Schubert basis goes to the other side, I1. So we know DA is a free SA module with basis delta W. Now if you take the dual, you also have delta W star, the dual basis. Okay. You should consider like one tensor because it's actually the tensor. Okay. So this gives you the ordinary Schubert class. And in other words, and that's an asymptotic rings. In other words, The co-product here, you use the product here, which is a commutative product, and this commutative product, you use it to study the intersection product of sugar class.
And is it clear on the right hand side we have intersection product?
Chalk group, because that's a smooth homogeneous variety, so you have intersections.
Yes. So can you realize this product in left hand side?
Yeah, that's because that's an S1 numbers.
Yes.
The second here is the product here.
But yes, I mean, so yeah. Can you actually calculate the left hand side?
Yes, and you can use very explicit calculation. But one thing I should say that is this S1 is realized as follows. Basically, you embed this into a group of, you consider T fixed points. Actually, you have precisely, the T fixed points in this set, in this variety, actually is indexed by well group. Actually, this is the same as a group of well group. Well group is a discrete set, so this is a discrete set. And this one is also embedded into something similar. So I'm cheating here because that's not precise, but roughly speaking is okay. This consists of all the set of all the maps from the set W to the set Z. Okay, so you can easily identify these two sets, and you embed it here, you embed this there. You show that they have the same where this as mountain or this as mountain, they have the same image. This gives you this as mountain. Okay, that's roughly the idea, but that's not. But there's that need to be fixed because actually maybe this that is that's a baby version of the ordinary version of this equivariant function. You don't need to really take extra. Take the tensor. You can start with the original version, and then you will have the autonomous equivariant homology or Changlong. That's a work by constant. But again, I'm cheating because constant movement did not use EA. They use another one. That's the one I'm going to introduce. But this is just like a preview. What's going on? We can take a break.